Hi, everyone. This is a tarot reading for the month of February 2019 for the sign of Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant in Aquarius. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay. So, the card that represents you this month is the Queen or the Mother of Swords. Reversed for whatever reason, alongside a reverse 10 of swords, a very brutal card traditionally. In this case, it's a little hard to see, but it's a dead bull, if you can see that. Okay, and the 10 of cups, which is very auspicious card generally speaking. So this is a really sharp contrast because on the one hand, it's like complete and utter happiness and harmony in all of one's activities and whatever one has been doing, right? Versus complete and utter despair and desperation and pessimism. So I wonder if this month you'll be oscillating between these two poles. The queens, excuse me, the queens are very inactive cards, which is not a bad thing. They're just very they're like the fixed signs of the zodiac, which you are, Aquarius. You're fixed air, right? They're similar to the fixed signs, and that they gather energies and so on. They hold on to things and whatnot. So on some level, these things are maybe happening around you. And you do hear people talk about that sometimes. Like on the one hand, this is or was the happiest time of my life. On the other hand, everything was just or is going to shit. It's a clusterfuck. It's a hellhole kind of thing. But somehow I'm also really happy. And, that's kind of one of those situations where, generally speaking, people will be, they may have like found their one true love or something and gotten married and they have this wonderful situation going on with their partner, but, maybe financially they have no money, right? They're struggling to make money and make payments on things. Things aren't quite working out in other areas of life. So it's one of those kind of deals, I think, right? And this month you're more likely to be kind of just like holding on to whatever it is you have firmly, right? And not really directly interfacing with this stuff. It's almost like a bipolar reality too. But on some level, you're unwilling to totally interface with either one, maybe as well. That could be a very distinct possibility here. Because the queen or the mother just doesn't, you don't want to act necessarily. You want to wait and see how things will or will not work out and that kind of a thing. Okay, so past, present, future, good old past, present, future. The past is similar, right, to this 10. It's the 9 of swords, which is also a card of, it can be a card of despair, but it's a crisis card. It's things are dissolving, right? And it's actually a natural phase within any cycle. Things dissolve, decay, and so on and so forth. But something clearly in the recent past, right, is what's weighing on you from the recent past this month is that things came to some kind of an end, right? Things decayed and came to some kind of a natural end. Perhaps you're dwelling too much on that. Perhaps you're making it out to be worse than it is, right? So that's something to think about. Like, is this really as bad as I'm thinking it is, as I'm imagining it to have been, and so on? And what was the reason for that? The Son of Pentacles. That's a weird card for like the reason behind it, right? Well, the reason behind it actually that story may be told by these two cards together, the son leaving his mother, or to put it in other words, right, going out into the unknown and leaving what was secure and comfortable, right? It's interesting because, again, we have another mother card, and in the center here we have the 4 of Cups, which is basically representing trying to find safety, trying to be safe, trying not to make waves, right? And kind of just holding out for just more of the same, in a sense, like being being held up, you know, not held up, but being like retreating into a safe space, right? And then just hoping for more safety. So kind of boring, right? In a sense, you're perhaps running from this on some level this month, whatever this crisis was, whatever this chaos was. Okay, and you're definitely, you know, here too, the kind of the what lies beneath your circumstances for the month, right, is again like a feeling of insecurity, a feeling of not having everything you need, perhaps, right? Maybe not believing that you can be happy, and even if things are a clusterfuck at the same time, right? But you've come to the end of something, right? 2 10s is definitely the end of something and the beginning of something else, right? So things are changing. And then we have the 11th major arcana, the strength card. First time it's come up in this month's series of readings. So I'll get to that in a moment, but something new is emerging, right? Some new power or strength or purpose or autonomy is emerging, which may or may not happen, right? Depending on how you handle things. But it's like the message behind all the events of this month and the spirit of this month for you are become independent, become strong, become nobly self-sacrificing. I don't know why self-sacrifice came to me, but it comes to me for some reason. Like it's just hitting me in the head. Like, you know, be noble, you know, be empowered. Don't, you know, the mouse is afraid compared to the lion, you know? And no, this isn't that story where the lion is afraid of the mouse. If anything, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. If anything, it's like a metaphor where, you know, if the lion's afraid of a mouse, it's the sense that the lion within you is afraid to not have security and safety and whatnot, and is afraid that things are collapsing, right? So the past, right, these crises, these nightmares, whatever they are, have been happening because you're beginning to want to go out on your own, right? You're beginning to want to like leave the nest of safety that you've had, right? Which on the most basic level is our mother, okay? Archetypally, at least. You know, the womb of the family, and specifically the mother, right? But but it can be anything, right? It can be any situation where you're wanting to strike out on your own, and that's why you're having this crisis. You know, that's why you're having this kind of security issue. And in the future, it looks like you're heading toward a place where you are gonna come out of your shell, right? Reversed hermit, reversed turtle, whatever. You are gonna be forced out of your shell on some level, perhaps, and you know, this is, again, another crisis. It's a 9 card. The 9 cards are very much about crisis and or completeness, so to speak. Because the 9s are, they're both, because when something is fully complete, the next place for it to go is naturally to change, right? So it precipitates or necessitates a crisis at the same time. Right, and then we get to the 10s, which is basically that new beginning coming out of that end. So in a sense, 9 and 10 are very, very closely related in the tarot, at least, and I would say in numerology in general. But you know, the 9 is also in some cases a falling away from the 10s, right? And we do have the 10 of Cups here, kind of next to the Hermit, right? So perhaps on some level there's a falling away from this. There's an inability to really face this crisis and come out of your shell. So I think it's going to be a kind of a stubborn month for you. You're going to have to make some tough decisions if you want to get out of a space of like loneliness and inertia and kind of just being in a slump, that sort of a thing. You know, it's a time to come out of that. But there's a lot of inertia to battle against, for better or worse, you know, but it'll make you a stronger person, strength, right, if you do that. What's the advice? The advice is the reverse 6 of Cups. The advice is let go of the past, right? You're getting too caught up in the roots, in your roots, okay? That's great. You know where you're from already. You know where you come from, but you're too caught up in it. You're not growing, right? You're not metaphorically actually emerging from those roots as a unique individualized being, right? You're sitting comfortably in kind of a stasis, perhaps partly self-imposed stasis, but it's time to journey into something new, something a little less known, right? So yes, acknowledge that you know where you're from, you've had good times, all these things, but it's time now to become your own person. It's time now to reach for the sky, right? This type of tree is a triangular shape. It reaches towards the heavens. It is not a tree like the Empress card, which is a circular tree, a fruit-bearing tree, right? It rises toward the greatest heights that it can attain. And that is basically what you need to be doing. This month is all about a cycle ending, letting go, and becoming autonomous and strong and going off in a new direction, perhaps a slightly, unknown direction, and that sort of a thing. And that's okay. The classically, in other tarot decks, the sun or night cards actually are a transition between the elements. So the Pentacles, traditionally, the Knight of Pentacles is transitioning towards the Page of Wands. So what is that? That means that you are coming out of, with Pentacles, right? We were emphasizing things like ancestry. We're emphasizing, practical and physical security and all that stuff, like a very worldly kind of security, and emphasizing beginning the journey as a creative, passionate, self-sustaining individual, right? Fire is not practical, and fire is definitely related very much to spirit, and spirit is not practical. Spirit is never practical, right? Fire is not practical. Fire burns things. Fire seeks the source of things. Fire purifies things, right? So in that sense, you're potentially headed towards that place of being a creative agent in the world, right? It's not about the practicality of it. It's about the creativity of it. Okay. And of course, Aquarius, you're an air sign, right? So you're basically all in your head. You rely naturally upon your identification with other people in the group, right? Leo, which is oftentimes correlated with the Strength card simply because there's a lion on it, really for no special reason other than that, honestly, is the opposite of that. The lion, especially the male lion, I mean, he's just there. Male lions are lazy. They're basically just there to, to fight if need be. But, the females can defend themselves really well. So, I mean, he can scare off predators. He can get involved if there's really a major threat. But he's really just there to impregnate the females. That's it. That's his job. If you really think about it, lazy sot, So, he's not practical. He doesn't take care of the young. He doesn't hunt. He's just there to provide the creative seed, right, that allows life to continue. It's actually a very important role, but it's just funny because, he really isn't doing all that much besides that. As far as I know, I'm not an expert on lions, but that's what I've been, that's what I've come to learn about the basic dynamic between the one male and the many female lions. So, or I think it's usually one male. I don't know. You know what? The point is male lions are lazy, but they're creative agents, right? They're not practical. They're creative agents, just like the Wands energy. So, Aquarius needs to become more Leonin, and Leo needs to become more Aquarian, right? Aquarius needs to get out of its head, get out of its identification with the group, with lofty ideals and things like that, and actually become a free-thinking individual with their own thoughts and ideas, with their own vision of the world, right? Able to stand alone not long enough to create something new, right? Even if it's just some small thing. So that's kind of the challenge here. And I think this month you sort of have an opportunity to do some of that. So it's maybe a pivotal month for you, depending on how you want to swing it, right? But as far as, will these things happen? Well, I don't know. That's really up to you. There's a lot of inertia to face. I'm not going to lie. There's going to be a lot of hard work if you really want to break out of that inertia. But I do think it's entirely possible. And, it may not all happen in 1 month's time. It may take a few months, but you could initiate it this month. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that was helpful. If so, please hit like, subscribe, share. Check me out on Patreon. Check me out on my website for individualized readings if you want one of those, a real reading, not a general reading like this one. And find me on Facebook and all that good stuff. All right. Otherwise, guys, have a great February.